Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, and he is brought to you by Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemung, home of South Jersey's best wings. He brings you Week 10 in fantasy football. If you have a question for Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com, text him in right now, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Text your questions in for Jeff. We got Thursday Night Football tonight, Titans and Colts here on 97.3 ESPN. So let's start with that, Jeff. It's a good game on Thursday night. Who should be in your lineup from tonight's game?
Well, the quarterbacks, both Phillip Rivers and Ryan Tannehill are borderline at best quarterback ones, but Tannehill looks a little bit better of the two. Running back Derrick Henry is a must-start every week. Jonathan Taylor looks like a solid pick as well for the Colts, so they're both going to try to run the ball. Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins are more flex plays. Wide receiver A.J. Brown and Corey Davis for the Titans are must-starts, as well as Jonathan Smith at tight end. Wide receiver is kind of a mixed bag for the Colts. T.Y. Hilton's coming back from injury. He's more of a flex, as is Zach Pascal at the wide receiver 2 spot. Trey Burton's a sneaky tight end if you need one to pick up.
All right, there's your Thursday Nighter. Get your guys in, and don't forget, you can listen to that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, we got quarterbacks to take a look at here for week number 10. Can you believe it? Week number 10 in the fantasy football world. So Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com is here to help you guys out. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at a couple of interesting names. We like to find those guys who are typically, in that middle of the road where we're not sure what we should do with these guys. So keep that in mind when we're throwing names over to Jeff. Let's start out with the quarterback here, and we'll go with Lamar Jackson at New England. Jackson was the MVP of the league last year, but is he starting to be a little bit questionable for fantasy?
Well, he's got a great playoff schedule. I'll give him that. And I think that you got to ride him because he's probably your quarterback one this year. And New England's defense has not been that stout. We saw what Joe Flacco did to them last week. So come on, you got to use Lamar Jackson this week.
Got to have him in your lineup, he says. All right, let's go to Cam Newton. Again, he's playing against Baltimore. Newton's a guy that he seems like he figures out a way to run one in, but he's not giving you much else.
Right, and he does not have a very good supporting cast. He's got some banged-up running backs. He doesn't have a wide receiver to speak of, nor a tight end. I would avoid Cam Newton against probably the number one defense in the Ravens this week. Okay, what about you look at Kirk Cousins? That team seems like they're turning the corner a little bit, but is it because of Cousins? He's a matchup-specific quarterback, meaning against the Bears, I really don't like him. Minnesota wants to run the ball with Dalvin Cook and Alex Madison, so I don't trust him this week.
All right, let me go over to Matt Stafford. He's up against Washington this week. Stafford's one of those guys who typically puts up big numbers, but he seems like he's been quiet on the fantasy season.
Yeah, and Washington's defense has gotten a little bit better. They have a good pass rush. Detroit's the good news is that they got Galladay back, and they have a good tight end there too. But Stafford's got to stay upright. I think that they run a mixed bag of offense. I like Stafford as a QB2 more than a QB1, but he has some good upside.
All right. What about a bounce-back week this week for Tom Brady?
I think so. I think Carolina's defense has given up a lot this year. Tampa Bay's got more weapons now. We're going to talk about Antonio Brown probably. I like all the weapons for Tom Brady, even the running backs catch the ball out of the backfield. Brady's a top 10 quarterback this week.
Fantasy expert Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, 609-403-0973. Keep your text messages coming. Hunter is putting together your questions. All right, let's go to the running backs. Let's start here. Mike Davis is back this week. Is he back as an RB1?
He is, just going to, on a volume standpoint alone, he's going to get 20 to 25 touches against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's an improved defense, but Mike Davis has looked pretty good as a starter. We have him as the top 5 running back this week. He's a must start.
All right, Phillip, Lindsey at the Raiders. He's a guy who was great last year. Haven't heard much this year, him and Melvin Gordon, but how about Lindsey and Gordon this week?
Yeah, they're kind of 1A versus 1B in Denver. It gets a little tough because they often just start to fall behind the second half, so you minimize the ground game, but Lindsey can catch the ball more than Gordon. Lindsey is more of a running back 3, flex at best.
Antonio Gibson's back. He had been putting up some big numbers. He's at Detroit.
This is a good matchup, probably one of the better matchups left for Antonio Gibson on the schedule. He's a top 20 running back this week against Detroit.
All right, DJ Dallas is a guy who's kind of been on the fantasy scene the last couple of weeks. If you held out on him, should you put him in now?
Yeah, that was one of the teams I wanted to talk about. Seattle, Chris Carson's probably going to be out. Carlos Hyde is out. So you're looking at DJ Dallas and Travis Homer for that backfield. I like both those guys this week.
All right, Miles Sanders might be back, I guess, this week. What are you telling Sanders owners?
He practiced this week. This is a must-win for the Eagles. It's a divisional game. I like Sanders as a running back one this week.
Okay, if you watch Monday Night Football, you saw some Rex Burkhead. Do you feel comfortable playing him?
In a word, no. But if it's a must, especially in a PPR league, I will use him. I think that New England, they're going to mix the ball around, plus you have Cam Newton. I just don't trust that offense for consistency, nor do I like Rex Burkhead for consistency. Again, it's the Ravens. Very good defense.
All right, last time we saw Eagles and Giants, Wayne Gallman was trying to run the clock out, did a nice job. So is Gallman the guy you're going with this week?
Gallman's only in play if you get Freeman that's out. So when Freeman is out, Gallman usually finds himself in the end zone some way, shape, or form once a week. If Gallman and Freeman are both active, Gallman's a flex play at best.
All right, let's go over the wide receivers. Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. Text in your questions. Get them in. We're getting them all put together here. 609-403-0973. We'll get to your questions in just a second. Let's look at a couple of wide receivers. How about Allen Robinson? What's Nick Foles doing to Allen Robinson, man?
He's trying to get in the ball. Minnesota's defense is a little up and down, but Robinson is the number one wide receiver by a long shot for the Bears. Just on volume alone, he should get 7 catches, 80 yards, and 50% chance of a touchdown. So that's a wide receiver one recipe.
Jerry Jeudy, the rookie wide receiver for Denver. They got Vegas this week. What do you think?
Vegas is a sneaky team this year. They're looking pretty good, but both Jeudy and also but Patrick, I think all the lesser-known wide receivers, it's a decent bunch in Denver. Quarterback's really the issue there because Drew Lock's not that great, but I think Judy's the number one guy, and he's a top 30 guy, so you should probably have him in the lineup.
All right, I'm looking over at wide receivers that play against Seattle. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a sneaky offense this week. I like all the Rams to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to have to throw against Seattle. Seattle's coming off of a bye. It's going to be a high-scoring game in a contested NFC West. I like that game to be a lot of points and a good passing offense for the Rams this week.
Another team that gave up a lot of points is Buffalo. What about Christian Kirk, another little under-the-radar guy?
Yeah, he's really been the go-to guy for Kyler Murray, especially as a deep threat. They get Isabella in there once in a while, but really Kirk is the big explosive play guy. He's definitely a wide receiver, too, with plenty of upside.
All right, I want to go one last one. Michael Thomas returned last week, did not do much. Do you feel good about having him in the lineup this week?
I do, as from a fantasy standpoint. I think he's a top 20 guy, but I don't expect him to be a wide receiver one just because I don't think they're going to have to throw a ton against San Francisco.
All right. Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, answering your fantasy football questions. You can keep texting them in. We'll try to add them on the fly here. We'll fit as many as we can in the time allowed. All right, bros, what do you got?
All right, here we go. Tim Patrick or Juju Smith-Schuster?
I like the way Juju's coming back, and Cincinnati tends to do well against. I lean Juju in that matchup.
Deandre Swift or McKissick?
McKissick is probably not going to be as used as much because Gibson's going to be in play, so I would go with Swift.
Okay, J.K. Dobbins, Melvin Gordon, or Zach Moss?
I like Zach Moss. He's got a nose for the end zone, but I like Dobbins even more. So I go Dobbins, and then Dobbins is my number one guy there.
Okay, this is a PPR league, and he needs 2. Mike Evans, Travis Fulgham, Curtis Samuel.
Samuel does not get the volume, so I'm going to go Fulgham and the first guy. Oh, I slipped already.
Bridgewater, Cam Newton, or Joe Burrow?
Oh, I like Joe Burrow. I think he's got a great schedule the rest of the way, and it's a tougher game, but Cincinnati's got a great schedule. It's a tough defense for the Steelers, but Burrow can run, raises his floor.
This texter needs 2. Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, James Robinson.
James Robinson's been a sleeper all year. He's definitely in the roster, and I think Miles Sanders is also that. Those are 3 good choices, but man, that looks to be Jacobs.
Okay, and this texter also needs 2. Diggs, Fuller, or A.J. Brown?
Wow, also a good group. I'd say A.J. Brown and Fuller. I think Fuller, he's getting the targets and he's getting open deep. I like Fuller and Cooks this week for Houston.
All right, there you go. It is Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, answering your fantasy football questions. Again, thanks to everybody for texting them. If we got to yours, if we didn't, we'll try again next week. We try to get as many as we can in the time allowed. But before we go, we want Jeff to tell us a couple of sleepers, waiver wires, under-the-radar plays for week number 10.
Okay, a couple of quick wide receivers before we hit the running backs hard. So Jacksonville is getting the passing game going on with Luton as the new quarterback. DJ Baby Chark is back. He found the end zone last week. I think he'll do it again. And Laviska Shenault should be back to action. Also, I like Jacoby Myers for the Patriots as probably their best chance for a wide receiver one. San Francisco is banged up at running backs. So Jerry McKinnon and Jermichael Hasty are probably going to be your running backs this week. Arizona, we had Kenyon Drake back, splitting time with Chase Edmonds. Chicago is a mash unit in the running back. David Montgomery's got a concussion. Lamar Miller may share the backfield with Ryan Nall. Lamar Miller could be a very dark, deep sleeper to pick up. There's a name from the past. Houston, David Johnson could be out for a concussion. He's probably out. Get Duke Johnson in there. And lastly, I hear Joe Mixon didn't practice today, so another chance for Gio Bernard,
who did pretty well the last time you got a chance to put him in your lineup. He's Jeff Pasquino from thefootballguys.com. Week 10, get your bye week guys out. Make sure you get your bye weeks from last week in. And, of course, tonight, get your Thursday Night Football players in. Jeff, good luck to you.
Good luck to everybody. Enjoy the games.
All right, there he goes. He appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline, and he is brought to you by the Piccalilli Inn. Be sure to call the Pick for your game day favorites like their award-winning wings, ears, and tails online at Piccalilli.com.